Right, if you're my age and grew up almost anywhere British music was played, you'll recognise this song immediately.
Stop your messing around. Better think of your future. Time is straighten right out.
That's the Specials, of course, message to you, Rudy, and here's why we're playing it. Remember, we interviewed Safia Khan about that protest in Birmingham, that famous photo where she smiled back into the angry face of the EDL leader who was yelling at her. Well, that interview included another photo, which Safi was wearing a Specials t-shirt. Now, among the people who watched it, believe it or not, was Lynval Golding of the Specials, and he contacted us asking to be put in touch with Safi, which we did, and we thought we'd speak to Lynval, who's a pretty wonderful man, born in Jamaica, raised in Britain, now living in America. He's a man who's lived through anger at immigrants and is sensing deja vu. Brexit now, but before that, racist attacks on him, on his dad, who came to Britain because he was told there was work for him. But when he tried to get into a retirement village, white residents threatened to move out.
My father left Jamaica in the early 50s, which was a call from Sir Winston Churchill. Come home to the motherland. We need your labour to rebuild England after the World War. Right. So that's what my father did. So anyway, when my father retired and it was time for him to, you know, he couldn't live on his own because my stepmother died before, so it was just my father at home. I was living in America at the time, you know. So we decided we needed to get him into a really, he's worked and he pays all his dues all his life, and we need to get him into a good home. Yeah. And it was the strange part about it was the lady who was so racist towards my father. She was like in her 90s. And you think, hold on a minute, you're in your 90s. My father is 77 at the time. I mean, how long have both of you got left to live? Why you have that sort of attitude? You know, is that the sort of attitude you're gonna show to the next generation? That was where, like, you know, but my father would be totally against, because the way things have turned out, right, which we were surprised, to vote to come out of the EU, right, is completely madness. You know, my father we fought to unite people, not to divide people, and he is dividing people again. And the same thing could happen in France. You know, so we're at a pretty dangerous spot. And it was like, history could repeat itself, you know?
History is repeating itself, and the whole two-tone movement was in response to a kind of, the National Front, the British movement, the rise of white nationalism, and we're seeing precisely that over again. We're seeing it in France, we're seeing it in Britain, to a certain extent we're seeing it in the United States with Donald Trump. Are you staggered, Lynval, that 40 years after the Specials formed, actually the same stuff is happening?
Well, sometimes I sort of walk on stage and I goes, oh my God, you know, I feel really embarrassed that I've got to be singing this song. It's called Why. Why did you try to hurt me? Tell me why, tell me why, tell me why. Did you really want to kill me? Tell me. I know that I'm black. You know that you're white. I'm proud of being black. So why did you try to hurt me? I don't need the British movement. I don't need the Black Power movement. I do not need the EDL. I can think for myself. Why don't you try the same? So it's difficult for me at this stage to think that we're stepping back. And I can tell you one thing, right? You know, I become an American citizen because I wanted to vote, which I thought would be for the first female president. And unfortunately, I was wrong. But I still think I'm right because I voted for the right person.
Lynval, that song Why, which you wrote, that was a direct response to two completely unprovoked attacks you received, racist attacks, right? You were beaten up, and I think someone attacked you with a knife, didn't they?
I got stabbed in my neck and my eye as well, and twice I got beaten up in London just before we did the Montrose Jazz Festival, you know, and I was determined. I said, doesn't matter what. I got my ribs cracked up, and one thing I never do, right? I never describe the dress code of those who attack me, because it's wrong. Because that means anyone with that dress code, right, could be, other people take it, small-minded people take it, he's a racist because of the way he dressed. Because one bad person or the bunch, right, doesn't mean everyone is evil. It's wrong. So I never never, ever. I never. I reported to the police, but I never go and get any media attention because I knew what they would do about it, and to me that is wrong. So therefore, I never talk, never describe the person just good who stabbed me. The three guys, three guys who attacked me in London.
Linval, you were beautiful and hopeful and optimistic in 1977. I mean, you knew that the world was a tough place, but you believed that what diminished and demeaned us could be overcome. Do you still believe that?
I do think from, I sort of helped get the band back together, the majority of the band back together, 2009. And the reaction was I was overwhelmed by people's reaction. And when you think of like the songs that we've wrote, and how they stand up today, it doesn't make it all right. Not because you're black, not because you're white. It doesn't mean you have to fight. It doesn't mean you have to hate him. It doesn't make it all right. It's still, the message within the song is still relevant today.
Yeah, or Ghost Town. We're going to play some, Linval.
This place is coming like a ghost town. No job to be found in this country. Can't go on no more.
No jobs to be found in this country, people getting angry. That song could be written about many of the communities that really strongly supported Brexit. It simply hasn't dated at all, that sense of hopelessness. It's remarkable how it stands almost 40 years on.
And Ghost Town was a big record. It sums up what was happening in England. It sums up the discontent of the British. There were riots, and that song predicts what was happening. I predict before it happened. So it's like Ghost Town is an anthem for that time, which I'm very, very proud of that, But to see young people there at the shows and see their moms and their dads at the back, it is it's a wonderful feeling. And to see them singing the songs, word for word, words in like in Japan. They know every word of those songs. I mean, to me, I'm proud of the words that we use in lyrics in those songs because it means a lot to people 40 years later. And I think that's the strength of good music, and I'm proud of what we've done as a band.
There's every reason to be. Linval Golding, who saw Sophia Khan on Checkpoint and got in touch. What a wonderful way to end the program for tonight.